G'day folks and welcome once again to the Bendigo Bank MCDFNL Footy Show. Kind of an abridged version this week. Of course, no games that are being played this week, but we thought we'd have a look back at last week and of course have a look back at the talking points from last week. As we do every week, Shaun Kelly's my name. I'm here in the host chair as always. Joining me this week, the MCDFNL Operations Manager, Scott Carey. Scotty, welcome aboard, mate.
Thanks, Shawnee. Good to be back, mate.
Good to have you on board. Sammy Gower's on placement at the moment, so he's decided he's a little bit too important for the likes of us at the moment. So we thought we'd just have to bring you in off the bench. And I've got an inkling that if you perform even half as well as what I think you will, you could become a permanent fixture in the seniors here, mate.
Yeah, and Sam has been lacking a little bit of form lately, mate, so it's probably not a good time to go missing. But
let's be honest, he's a twos player.
He is. He's a twos player and he's a twos performer on the footy show at times, so I'll step in and fill the void, mate.
Looking very much forward to it, mate. Before we get into our talking points for the week, though, let's have a look at the scores from last week. And we're also going to start talking ladders as well, because we're at that point in the season where ladders now are becoming relevant and very much becoming a talking point. First 4 or 5 rounds of the season, you don't pay too much attention to ladders, as you know, but now they really start to become relevant. So we'll have a look at those shortly. We'll start with the results from this week up on the screen at the moment. Lexington 17-12, 114, defeating Avoca 9-8-62. Carisbrook 19-12, 126, defeating Campbell's Creek 9-11-65. Harcourt 14-12, 96, defeated the Maryborough Rovers 14-6-90. We'll touch on that one more later on in the show. Natty Bialaba 17-11, 113, defeated Maldon 12-4-76. Royal Park 16-13, 109, defeated Newstead 8-9-57. Newstead 5 goals up at quarter time and Bushy came over the top of them. Then on Sunday, Navarre 13-12, 90, defeating Talbot 8-5-53. And Denali putting their first win for 2015 on the board, 16-9, 105 to Trentham 9-11-65. We'll have a look at the ladder. You can see it up on the screen at the moment. The two undefeated sides sitting pretty up the top there, Navarre and Harcourt. Navarre 28 wins in a row now, which is, I reckon, almost be up there as the leading winning streak in country Victoria, but we'll check that one out because it'll be right up there if it's not at the top. In third spot, Carisbrook with 5 wins and 1 loss. Also Lexington on that win-loss percentage, and Natty Bialaba in 5th spot. You'd be stiff if you came through a season, end up in 5th spot with a ratio like that and having to play in a knockout final first week. But that's the closeness of the season this year. It could very well happen. Game back in 6 spots, Royal Park, 4 wins and 2 losses. Then another game to Maldon in 7th with 3 and 3. Another game to Trentham, sitting in 8th spot at the moment with 2 wins and 4 losses. Maryborough Rovers also on that same win-loss ratio in 9th spot. And then it's Campbell's Creek in 10th, Newstead in 11th, Avoca in 12th, and Denali climbing up to 13th on the ladder this week, all with the 1 win for the season. And then Talbot yet to open their account for the season at the bottom of the ladder. Time to talk some netball, Scotty. We get a clip around the ears every now and then for not talking enough netball on this show, so we thought we'd better give it some love and, as always, have a look over the results from last weekend. The it wasn't a grand final rematch, but it was a finals rematch between Avoca and Lexington on the weekend. It was Lexington 47 defeating Avoca 32. Actually, I think it was a preliminary final rematch for that one.
Sounds right, Shawnee, absolutely.
Carisbrook 56 defeating Campbell's Creek 5. Harcourt 61 defeating the Maryborough Rovers 35. Natty Bialaba 35 defeating Maldon 21. Newstead 64 defeating Royal Park 13. Trentham 37 defeating Denali 22. And Navarre 71 defeating Talbot 8. Navarre and Lexington, our 2 undefeated sides so far this year, sitting 1 and 2 on the ladder. Harcourt with just the 1. In fact, they haven't lost a game. They've had a draw. They are sitting in 3rd spot on the ladder, 2 points behind Navarre and Lexington. Then there's a game and a half back to 2 clubs, Natty Bialaba and Trentham. Avoca in 6th, the recipients of that draw against Harcourt. Half a game back, Carisbrook in 7th and Maldon in 8th. Royal Park also on the same win-loss ratio in 9th spot at the moment. Newstead in 10th, Maryborough Rovers in 11th, Talbot in 12th, Denali 13th and Campbell's Creek 14th to bring up the ladder this weekend. Scott Carey, talking points for this week. Talking point number 1, congratulations to the Denali Football Club breaking their season duck and doing it in pretty impressive fashion with a fairly sizable win over Trentham on Sunday.
Thumping win, you could probably say, Shawnee. 40-50 points aren't easy to do, so they must have played very well. And congratulations to Denali Football Club on coming away with a win over Trentham. So it's fantastic. Sean Smith's obviously doing a great job with a fairly young side, and it probably looked like a couple of their young guys actually stood up on the weekend in Justin Laird and Michael Campbell. So Campbell, I think it was. Yeah.
So Peter Whitcamp kicking a few goals.
Yeah,
as well,
absolutely. So Yeah, fantastic, and that'll give them full head of confidence going into the middle part of the season.
Yeah, and apparently Justin Laird coming back into the side, of course, suspended in round 1, got 4 weeks, came back into the side for round 6, and from all reports, he made a huge difference. Just a big player, having the skill set that he's got, and really just straightening up Denali as well, and taking someone like Justin in just apparently, gave him that confidence that they knew now that they're a competitive team.
Absolutely, and he's one of those real prototype footballers with his size. He's a 6'2", 6'3", he can run, he's quick, kick the footy beautifully, so he's definitely a match winner for Denali, and they won't want to see him on the sidelines again for an extended period.
No, that's exactly right. Well done to the Eagles. Well done also, talking point number 2, to the Maryborough Rovers. They came within an absolute breadth of pulling off one of the upsets of the season. Harcourt sitting on top of the ladder undefeated. Maryborough Rovers 5-1 in the final quarter. Flew home like freight trains at them. Fell 1 goal short though. Full credit to Harcourt for being able to hold on, but geez, that's a good effort by the Rovers. A side that a lot of people wouldn't have picked to get too close to Harcourt this weekend, given Harcourt's start to the season, and they nearly did it.
Yeah, it probably shows the evenness of the competition, Shawnee, and I'm sure Maryborough Rovers will probably sit back and say they're disappointed that they didn't get the win, and
as all clubs are,
the credit that we've given them now is probably not worth it, but certainly to not give up and come flying home in the last quarter is very hard to do, especially when you're 6 goals down against a side that's undefeated. And to nearly snatch it is fantastic. So I think there's, again, similar to Denali, there's plenty of positive signs there moving in the middle of the season.
Harcourt setting themselves up a nice base at the moment, flipping the gears for a minute though. They're 6-0 at the moment after their first 6 games. We look after the break, they've got Talbot, which they'll start favourites in up at Harcourt, of course, up at Sims Dental Reserve. And then after that one, they have Natty Bialaba on the 20th of June. So that, if you go on current form, they go into that Natty game at 7-0. There's another 7 games after that, 9 games after that. They probably only need to win another 3 of those 9 to at least play finals, and probably 4 of the 9 would get them a top 4 spot.
That's the challenge, I think, for them now, Shawnee, is to really sell up that top 4 spot. They've got the perfect start to the season, as you said. I probably do go in favourites against Talbot. I wouldn't write Talbot off though. No, in that game. It's certainly going to be a tough one.
And they showed a bit against Navarre on the weekend.
Absolutely. So I know Harcourt will plan well for them and go into that game confident as well. But certainly they've got a fantastic opportunity here to really stand themselves, lock in that top 4 spot. I know it's early in the season, but if they grab it by both hands, then who knows what can happen later in the year.
They need to get those wins now because, as we mentioned, they've got Natty Bialaba on the 20th of June, so 2 weeks after the break. They then have a week where they play... Actually, they play Newstead, so they start favourites in that.
Yep.
If they can win that, they go into July 8-1. Have a listen to this for July for Harcourt. Saturday 4th of July, Carisbrook at Carisbrook. Then they've got Saturday 11th of July, Lexton at Lexton. Saturday 18th of July, Harcourt v Royal Park. Saturday 25th of July, Harcourt v Navarre. Could you get a tougher month of footy?
It was going to come, I think, at some stage, Shawnee. You could tell by the start of their run in the fixture that at some stage, it's unfortunate they've probably come up against them all in a row, but again, I'm sure they'd be looking at it as that's exactly what we want. We've got a good start. We want to now test ourselves against the top 4, supposedly, and if they snake a couple of wins out of that, they could be real danger later end of the season.
And especially, we look at their end of the season, they've got Trentham, they've got Avoca in the last round, and then in the second last round they've got Denali as well, which are all winnable games based on current form, based on current ladder positions. So if we say they've gone into the game against Carisbrook at 8-1, they win those other 3, they're 11-1. They pick out one of those 4. It's 12 wins. That's top 4 any day of the week.
Absolutely, that ties them up, Shawnee.
It does indeed. So a big couple of months of football coming up for the Harcourt Footy Club. Talk point number 3, though. We've got a bit sidetracked on talk point number 2. We've got a bit of extra time this week, so we're allowed to. Right. Looking at the netball side of things, because the Trentham Netball Club is absolutely flying at the moment. After a couple of lean years, they have reinvigorated themselves in 2015. They sit 4-2 at the moment. They sit in 5th spot on the ladder. We've never heard that before from Trentham Netball. Really well done to the crew down at Trentham. Some new players in this year, a new coach. It's paying dividends.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been a couple of lean years, and full credit to the club. They've worked very hard over the off-season in terms of their netball recruiting, and started from the juniors as well. They've got a fantastic junior program down there at Trentham, and the girls are starting to come through, and it has been a couple of lean years, but now they're starting to reap the rewards of those. tough pre-seasons and sticking around, and hopefully it continues for the girls. It's going to be fantastic to see a few more wins and see the Trentham netballs in the finals again.
And that's the thing. If we look at the ladder as well, obviously the top couple of sides are gun sides again this year. Navarre, Lexington, Natty Biella are very, very competitive sides. Harcourt doing very well. You look at the rest of the sides though, and Trentham, they'd fancy. You look at the sides outside the top 8 this year so far. They'd fancy themselves against Royal Park and Newstead, who Royal Park are probably a side in that same kind of mould. Newstead, obviously, a side that's dropped off a little bit in the last couple of years. Maryborough Rovers, they'd fancy themselves there again. Another one that's probably in that same stretch as Lexington. Then Talbot, Denali, and Campbell's Creek that haven't won games as yet. If they can get that going, Trentham are a huge chance to play finals in the A-grade netball.
That's right, and I think it's similar to the footy. That bottom half of the top 8 and a couple sitting outside the 8 is going to be tight all season. There's going to be nothing in it. It's going to could come down to percentage at the end of the year. But again, similar to Harcourt, they've got that good start. They can now build on that, and it might only take a few more wins here and there to really sell them into that top 8 spot.
Will indeed. No point previewing games for this weekend because there's nothing happening. You can have the weekend off, start of the snow season, so go up there, get your snow fix out of the way, head up to Hotham, and apparently there's some snow at Hotham at the moment. The mother-in-law's working at Omeo at the moment. She said that temperatures are getting up to a brisk -4 in the morning, and there's definitely some powder on the mountain. So get up there and get that fixed, and then when we come back next week, we'll have a look at round 7 games coming up. We'll touch on them now, just so you know who's coming up in round 7. Up on the screen at the moment, Royal Park versus Avoca, Navarre versus Campbell's Creek, Carisbrook v Denali, Harcourt v Talbot, Trentham v Newstead, Maldon v Maryborough Rovers, Lexington v Natty Biella. 3 absolute crackers to finish off there.
Absolutely, mate. Be a tough tipping one, I think.
I think you're dead right there, Scott Carey. Thanks for joining us this week, mate. Got a feeling Sam Gowles has got some work to do in the twos before he can put together some sort of credible performance that gets him back in that seat.
Yeah, he won't be getting in easily, mate.
Wouldn't have thought at all. Thank you for joining us once again as well on the MCDFNL Footy Show, brought to you, of course, by our fantastic friends at the Bendigo Bank in Maryborough. We'll see you next week.